Welcome to the Mindful Mama podcast, where we navigate controversial topics, deep dive into life-changing stories, and engage in meaningful conversation. Join us in embracing the beauty of mindful motherhood. I'm your host, Corinne Adele. Welcome back to the Mindful Mama podcast. Today is the episode that you guys have been asking for a long time. This is my husband, Aiden. Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, my name is Aiden. I am the husband to the famous Corinne Adele.
And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about
a whole slew of things. Gonna start with some depression. Gonna touch on some alcoholism. Gonna touch on some addiction. And then Corinne had a poll out today on Instagram, and we are going to go over some questions that you guys wanted answers or are seeking guidance in situations.
So basically, my husband is a recovering alcoholic, and you're 2.5 years sober? Because it'll be 3 years in July.
Yeah, July it'll be 3 years, so I'm like right at
2.5.
2.5.
2.5 years sober. So we're going to go over our entire story. So, babe, where did your addiction start?
It feels like such a long time ago, to be perfectly honest. Even just the 2.5 years of sobriety. Sometimes it feels like a second, but thinking about it, it feels like a lifetime ago because of just everything that's gone on in our lives in the last 2.5 years, all the recovery and healing that you and I have gone through. I started drinking at a young age, probably...
Younger than you'd like to admit?
Oh, yeah.
Younger than you want your parents to know?
Oh, yeah. Very much so. I don't even know if my mom has to watch these.
I don't know if your mom does. She'll have to send me messages.
She's going to figure it out. I don't know. I can vividly remember... God, do I say that? Stealing alcohol from the grocery store?
Yes, you can. This is your story. Yeah. Say it.
I vividly remember stealing from the Yolks in West.
With who? By yourself?
Oh, yeah, by myself.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by yourself?
Yeah, it was simple at the time. But I remember just walking in, grabbing whatever, sliding it down the waistband of my jeans and walking out of the store, or buying a candy bar or something to be less suspicious, you know?
So why though? Was it because you thought it was cool?
100%. Trying to act out as a kid, not knowing the havoc that this would wreak on my life in the near-ish future, 10 years down the road. I probably started to struggle with alcohol about the time that we moved into this house.
Well, I'm gonna go back a little bit because I remember when I first started dating you, literally one of the first times I was with you in your Jeep. We were coming back from lunch and one of your friends came up to you in the Jeep. And this was in high school, so you were a senior.
So I was 18 at the time.
He opened up his backpack and was like, "Look, dude, look what I have." And I vividly remember you saying, "Oh man, I'm sober," something like that. "Dude, you're gonna make me want to drink again," or something like that. So I remember like keeping that in my head of like, oh, he has a problem with alcohol. So that was well on my radar that you were actively choosing to be sober. And I did not like that guy. I was like, he's trouble. And then I remember, I mean, I don't know if you drank between the time that we were dating when you were 18 until you turned 21. But I remember your 21st birthday being so upset because I knew you had an alcohol issue in the past. And then you started drinking, and your family, we all went out to dinner, and it's like the thing, like, "Oh, Aiden, drink more. Here's another drink. Here's another drink. Here's another drink." And I remember being so uncomfortable and so upset because I was like, I know that he has an issue with alcohol because I believe you told me too. Like you had told me you had an issue with alcohol. Um, and I remember just being like, oh, he's going to drink now. Like he's going to drink. So that was kind of like foreshadowing of the future because like I already knew. And then once he was 21, I was like, okay, well, I can drink. And then his family is all like, have another one, have another one, have another one. Because, you know, he's 21. So, anyways.
About the time that moved into this house actually is really the defining timeline. We moved in and my drinking went hand in hand with video games. And it was a very social thing, obviously. At the beginning, I had a whole setup in the garage away from the family so I could be loud and play games and talk to the friends, and which is another thing that comes with alcohol is seclusion. But it started off obviously not being a huge problem. I mean, I would drink too much on Friday, Saturdays. It progressed from there to me drinking every day after work. And then on top of that, the Friday, Saturday thing progressed from there to, instead of just drinking beers with dinner, it would be like I would drink one beer and then I'd go out to the garage fridge, seclusion, alone, and I kept my liquor in the freezer in the same fridge, and I would drink straight off the bottle and then grab a beer and walk inside for dinner or to cook dinner, and I would do that 3, 4, 5 times an evening during work days. And then, you know, playing video games at almost every single day of the week at that point. During the evenings, we would put the kids down.
I feel like you started doing that even when I was pregnant with Cicely.
Probably.
It was every single night you were gaming. Because I remember just being in bed alone every single night.
And then it was like I was being intoxicated during the day on the weekends. And then it got to a point that when I would get home from work, I would go straight to the freezer in the garage before I stepped in the house and take a giant swig off the bottle in the garage. And I ended up being intoxicated all the time when I was not at work. There wasn't really a time when I wasn't at work for probably a solid year plus that I wasn't just in some state of intoxication.
While not at work. Let's make that be clear. He was a high functioning, closeted alcoholic. I did not know. And now a lot of people might be like, how the heck did you not know? When something is so in your face, sometimes you're blind to it. Like, how many times have men been like, where's the ketchup? And it's right in front of their face and they can't see it. It's like the same thing. And there were times that I had noticed, there were times where Aiden was like drunk, but he gaslit me. So I gaslit myself and was like, Corinne, you're literally psycho. Like, there's no way he would be drunk midday. Like, that's so weird. Why would he ever do that? But also, like, me and Aiden did not have a relationship at the time. So, like, we were not super close. He was always gaming and I was always with the kids. Like, we weren't kissing that much. We weren't hugging. So I was never really like smelling his breath. And I think he did a really good job at hiding it because he always had a beer with him too. So it's like, yeah, of course he's drinking because he has a beer. And he would have like 1, 2, 3 beers a night. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Beer breath.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything that I was like, I don't know, overly concerned about. It did bother me that he was having beers, but also he's very high functioning too. So like, to me, I just thought, oh, this is who I married. I married a man who's falls asleep everywhere, was super disconnected. We no longer have conversations. We no longer have a relationship. It was very much roommate. He was always great to me. He was always great in general. He was always great to our kids. Like, there was never anything bad that was happening.
Personality wise, for sure.
It was just massive disconnection. And I straight up just thought he was lazy. And like, I'm like, who the heck did I marry? This guy is like not who I thought that I married. So I knew something was off. But I just thought that we had like really, like our relationship was just crap because it was. So that really played into it, the fact that we just didn't have much of a relationship. So there wasn't much for me to be curious about, to be honest. So I
Yeah.
didn't know. I didn't know.
I mean, looking back on it, I did the separation of me coming up and gaming every single night. I would game until, I mean,
There were some nights that I would go up at like 2 a.m. I would wake up and I would go up there to check on him. And a lot of nights I actually didn't. I was too scared to go up there because I didn't know what I would find. Because I'm like, what is he doing? So I would go up there sometimes at like 2 a.m. and he'd be slumped over in his chair
passed out.
asleep. And I'd like be like, hey, come down now. What are you doing up here? So there was just so much disconnection. Like, that's all I can say is like so much disconnection between us. So what, things really ramped up for you? I specifically remember one day,
I know the exact moment you're talking about. You're on a walk, right?
yeah, that Aiden was acting so bizarre. And this was midday. And I think it was after work. It was a summer day. And we went on a walk and Aiden was acting so weird. Like literally weird. He was like singing at the top of his lungs. He's like jumping around, just, you know, like funny drunk. And I was gaslighting the crap out of myself, being like, no, he's just happy. He's just feeling happy right now. You know, he was doing weird stuff. He was stumbling. But he was always able to like be very functional though. Very functional. So I was like, it's like, oh my gosh, he's drunk. What the heck? And we get back to the house and we went downstairs and I heard him puking in the toilet. But I was gaslighting myself that he wasn't puking because he came out and he was looking all weird. He had his hair over his face and stuff. And I was like, are you okay? And he was just like, yeah, I'm fine. And then he went and took a shower. And he came out of the shower and he tried putting his shirt on. And he's like being a freak, trying to get his shirt on. I was sitting there like my heart was pounding out of my chest. So I was looking at him like, I was like, are you okay?
I don't remember this.
Oh my gosh. And you were like, yeah, my skin's just wet. From trying. And I was like, okay. Like any validation that he would give me that he was not drunk, I was like, okay.
Eating it up.
Okay, yep, he's not drunk. I did not hear him throwing up in the bathroom. He's not acting weird. He's just happy. His skin is just wet and he's trying to put his shirt on like, but I knew, but I was
In denial.
I was in denial. Oh, 1,000,000% was in denial. I didn't allow myself to believe the truth. And that was before I had found everything out. But besides that, that is the only time that I can recall you actually being like very intoxicated to the point where I could
I was
notice.
I remember the walk because I pushed the damn stroller up that hill.
I don't even remember like when me and Aiden's relationship started to become so separate because we were so close and connected like when we lived at our old house. But I think things slowly started to drop off maybe our last year at our old house. It's not like a quick thing. Like it's just like, I think it really started with you gaming a lot. You would start going down into the man cave.
Yep.
And honestly, maybe even when we had Israel, because I would be breastfeeding all the time. So you'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to go game. Since you're breastfeeding, I'll go game. And it was like innocent. It wasn't anything that was like that big of a deal, but that was probably the start of the disconnection. And soon enough, we just like weren't super connected. And then I went through my first miscarriage. There was not really any connection there. And then my second miscarriage was honestly worse. There was no connection there. As women, our bodies are constantly evolving, and Indigo Luna gets that. Their beautiful, sustainable clothing made from natural fibers is designed with you in mind. Embracing every curve and change, including the seasons of pregnancy and breastfeeding, rooted in slow fashion, Indigo Luna prioritizes ethical production and timeless designs. As a newly postpartum mother, they really helped me rediscover my confidence and style. Feel good in clothes that honor your body and the planet. Use my link in the show notes to save 10% off your order at indigoluna.com. When Cicely was 4 months old, me and Aiden finally had like a literally 3-day long conversation, both admitting to ourselves that our relationship sucks. And
Which was needed, but was terrible. Like, you want to talk about guilt-ridden. Pouring your heart out to someone isn't fun. Pouring your heart out to someone that you're married to, that you, like in my boots, in my shoes, someone that you're lying to on the daily about an issue, not having that connection with them, still wanting to be with them because you love and care for them. You know, like, through the whole thing, I still loved and cared for Corinne, even with the disconnect that we had. But that 3 days of conversation was rough.
We basically were finally ready to admit that we had zero relationship. We finally just said it out loud. It was like we both knew all this time, but like no one was willing to say anything to the other one about it. So it was during that conversation that me and Aiden together figured out that he was depressed. I remember vividly you telling me, I look at myself in the mirror and I hate who I am. I hate what I look like. I hate how I feel. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're depressed. And you were like, am I depressed? Like, you didn't know. And I didn't know. Because again, I just thought, oh my God, who did I marry? Like, this is not the guy that I thought that I married. Because I mean, we would literally drive like 2.5 hours to go visit Aiden's family.
And not say a word.
And Aiden would sit on the couch and be asleep the whole time. And we hadn't seen his family in like a year. He was sleeping everywhere. Like, that's all he did. He was not connected in conversations. He had no spark to him. He never smiled. He never laughed. He never wanted to engage in conversation. He literally did not care. Like, he just didn't care. He's like, he was a shell of a person. And again, it seems so obvious from the outside, but when it's right in front of your face and it's a slow progression, you don't really realize it. Like, I didn't realize that he was depressed, and it all made sense after those 3 days of conversation that we had, that, oh my gosh, wait, has mental things going on. So after that conversation, a couple months later, maybe like a month and a half later, I decided to reach out to Aiden's mom and let her know what I found out, because I didn't know what to do. And Aiden's parents drove up to our house to like help us figure out what to do.
Counsel us.
Yep. And Aiden's mom worked for a doctor at the time, and she suggested that Aiden get on antidepressants.
It was like a week before we left for like a 12 or 15 day
2-week vacation to Maui with Israel and Sicily. Sicily was about 6 months old.
Yeah.
I was not happy. I was really not happy with him being prescribed antidepressants, because it did not get to the root of the issue. And I was okay with him doing that as a supplemental factor, but I did not want that to be like, okay, here it is. Here's the pill. You're going to take this pill and you're going to feel
for the rest
better.
of your life. Yeah.
Not even for the rest of your life, but just to fix it. And I think Aiden wanted that fix, and he kind of was like, oh yeah, I'll just do this pill or whatever. So I told him, I was like, okay, this is obviously your decision. You can take it if you want to take it, but please let me do some research first before we decide to do this, and I will come back to you with everything that I've learned, and then you can decide what you want to do.
So between that conversation and my parents coming up, was there, like I said, there was about a week. I had 2 telehealth appointments with the doctor that my mom was managing the office for at the time. We had one. I went and got some labs done.
Yeah, because he wanted to check his testosterone levels.
It was super low.
Super low, but within range, so
It was
nothing was
at the
done.
absolute bottom of. I had the testosterone of like a 60-year-old man at the time.
Yeah, and it's just like I love our healthcare because it was in range, it was fine. Like nothing was done about it, but here you can have antidepressants.
Yeah, she gave those out like candy.
Oh yeah, Aiden barely had to do anything to get those.
She had like a 10-question
Do you
questionnaire.
have will to live?
Yeah, well, it's like,
Do you have interest in life?
are you suicidal? And then like one of them was, not one of one of the questions was, are you drinking? And at that point I was like, yes. Like Corinne still didn't know how heavily, but I was on a telehealth appointment with my doctor. I knew that there was confidentiality there through whatever. And she was like, well, you can't drink. And I was like, I can't do that. She straight up said, you can't be on this medication that I'm prescribing you and drink alcohol at the same time. And I was like, I'm too deep in that one for that, doc. Like, there was no way that at that exact moment I could have given it up.
Yeah, because I didn't know yet.
Yeah.
So that also kind of put a roadblock in Aiden taking antidepressants. And I just ended up reading a bunch of books and looking into it more. And I presented Aiden with the information that I found. And ultimately, we decided not to do that. But also, I think the alcohol was a factor and I didn't know at the time.
It was absolutely a factor, and you didn't know at the time.
So, okay. We find out he's depressed, and I'm like, okay, here's my answer to everything. Yay! Now we're going to go on this Maui trip, and it's going to be the healing journey. Like, we finally get to take a breath of fresh air.
And I brought them. I brought the medication I was prescribed. Like we packed it.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh. I thought, like, okay, this was the end of the journey. I thought it was the end of the journey. I found out he was depressed.
Boy.
We were toying with antidepressants, but Maui was going to be the retreat. It was going to be great. And then we were going to move forward in health and happiness. And oh, I just wish I could go hug that girl. So we go to Maui. And the first 2 days that we're there, Aiden was having very weird behaviors that I was noticing. And so I think it was the second night that we were there, I pulled him outside after the kids had fallen asleep. And I basically confronted him and I was like, if there's anything you need to tell me right now, like what is going on? Why are you acting weird?
I was struggling with how much I wasn't
Yeah.
intaking is what it was.
Because what did you buy?
How about the extra strong White Claws, the White Claw
Yes.
surges or whatever
And he
they
was
were.
like drinking those all day. But anyways, so I pulled him aside and I was just like, what the heck is going on? Why are you acting so weird? He finally was like, I'm an alcoholic. I'm struggling with alcohol. I drink all the time. I'm straight up an alcoholic. And that was hard.
That was the worst night of my life. Worst, best, worst, just terrible.
Oh, I was ready to leave though. Like I was like, okay, well, if you can't get this figured out, I will take the kids and I promise you will never see me again.
That obviously didn't happen.
Spoiler alert, I didn't leave.
We had many of conversations over the next 10 to 12 days that we were in Maui. But I want to say either that night or the following day, Corinne and I had agreed that us leaving Maui would be me leaving alcohol in the past or me leaving the family.
I told him, I said, you have to choose us or you have to choose alcohol. Like, I won't do this with you. I won't do this. Point blank period. Do you want a wife and kids or do you want to rot in a trailer and drink yourself to death? Because that's what you'll end up doing.
I took the best approach to it that I could. I definitely tried to consume less every day.
Well, I think you ended up calling your doctor again, and she advised, she said, okay, with the amount that you're drinking, you can't just quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
The whole 2 weeks we were in Maui was basically Aiden's weaning period.
It didn't help much because, so went through that period, whatever.
He
There was,
was
there
still
was,
drinking White Claws the
there was
whole
no
time.
there was no hard alcohol
Right.
in, it was just brewed, whatever you want to call it, canned. Was still drinking far too many of those, but went through that, did my best to drink like one less can a day is what I like. Something I remember doing is trying to drink one less a day than I did the day before.
And the whole time I was contemplating my entire life. Oh my gosh, that trip. And I ended up getting sick, like really sick, so sick that I lost my voice, which that never happens to me. And I blame stress because I was the only one that was sick. And I remember telling him, like, you're the reason why I'm so sick. But still, like, I was in Maui, so we were able to enjoy it. But also, it was like so horrible at the same time. So it's just really funny. Like, this is proof that social media is so fake because, like, the whole time that we're in Maui and I'm posting and all that, everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're a dream family, whatever. And
Everything's happy.
I'm sitting
hunky-dory.
here like, am I going to be a single mom? Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to get a job and put my kids in daycare, or I'm going to have to move in with my in-laws, or like, what the heck am I going to do? Like, contemplating my life and basically trying to come up with my plan of being a single mom, because like I obviously presented like, hey, let's try and get through this, but also I needed my plan B for if it didn't work. So, and of course I'm crushed and broken and hurt and betrayed all at the same time, and just not knowing the future. So I just clung to Aiden's mom that whole trip. I was just talking to her on the phone constantly, basically the whole trip. Like, Aiden's parents freaking came to my rescue. They literally,
I feel like they offered to fly out.
no, they offered to fly me home
Oh, that's
if
what
I
it was.
wanted to leave. I had support from them, and I knew that whatever was going to happen, that I would have them and their support, that they're on both of our side, but they were very, very, very disappointed and very angry.
And they were very protective of you.
Aiden, they were very protective of me. I needed all the freaking support I could get. My life was in shambles.
I just remember just emotionally drained. Like, I had been caught. I mean, I had been kind of caught. I fessed up to it, right? And I wasn't feeding my addiction at the same time. Or I was, but I wasn't feeding it at the pace that it needed to be fed at, is what it was.
Our skin is our biggest organ, which means it absorbs all of the toxins we are exposing ourselves to every day. Because of this, I'm very mindful about the skincare and body care I use for myself. Osea formulates their skincare with seaweed because it's a superfood rich in vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Different species of seaweed can provide a myriad of benefits, including anti-aging and moisturization. They source their seaweed from different places around the world based on its high mineral content and combines it with other naturally derived ingredients. Use my code Corinne10 for 10% off, or see the link in my show notes.
Fast forward 10 days, come home. I decide to choose my family and go through withdrawals for the next
months.
I mean, the first 2 weeks, the first week was bad. I mean, like, shakes. I was vomiting every once in a while at work. Like, go puke in a Circle K bathtub or bathroom. It's not the funnest thing ever. They're gross.
Yeah, so the last drink that you had was July 8th. And then immediately when we came home, I was like, okay, we got to get you into therapy.
Yes.
Wrong.
You said we have to get into therapy in Hawaii. I talked to my therapist in Hawaii. I had a phone consult with Jeff
So I found him in Hawaii then.
Yes, you did.
Okay. So in Hawaii, I ended up finding Aiden a therapist because I said, when we get home, you will be starting therapy immediately. So I wanted to find somebody who did addiction, obviously, substance abuse, because that's important. So I found a guy who did substance abuse. And we got a hold of him, and Aiden got his first appointment on my 26th birthday, July 12th. So Aiden's last day of drinking was the 8th, and then he started therapy on my birthday, July 12th. What do you think about starting therapy?
Well, the whole getting off of the substance thing is nothing like is like you trying to explain birthing of a child to me. Like, I will never be able to explain it to you because of how just terrible it is. It's not great. I think that I was seeing him every week, wasn't I?
Yep, you were.
I was seeing him every week for a while, and then I moved
Every Monday, right?
yeah, going through getting off of it and then jumping straight into therapy is probably the best sequence of events that could have happened. Because having someone there to, it's not even someone there to support you, because you were very supportive of me healing and getting better. But it's someone that you can confide in and see once a week, and they're not going to judge you or hold it against you or see you any differently, or like here's an even better way to explain it. You can tell them whatever you want to, whatever you need to, and you don't have to lay in bed with them at night. You don't have to sit around the dinner table.
They don't have a bias, and also at that time no one was really like on Aiden's side, as far as like all of us were supporting him, okay? But he was the bad guy
Yeah.
in the situation. So Aiden having a therapist, like it felt
Good.
like he had somebody
There for me.
there for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to therapy for a while, and
Close to a year? I think it was close to a year.
it was close to a year. It was like 9 months, I think, is what it ended up being. I quit in like April of the following year or May of the following year for extenuating circumstances. Me and the therapist just didn't jive anymore.
The type of therapy.
Yeah, not the therapist, because I truly do like the therapist I was with, and if I could say
He was just going off on a different, very specific type of therapy that was not
it wasn't
for
working for our
Aiden
family
anymore. And so I think Aiden really did get what he needed in the beginning. And that, you can tell them what you think, but I think that was a key aspect in you basically quitting cold turkey and then never picking it up again. Like no relapses or anything like that, because he gave Aiden like mental tools and physical tools that you probably wouldn't have known without him.
I still use the physical tools to this day. I mean, I don't know. You guys don't see me very much in personal life in videos. I'm not too much of a co-star with Corinne anymore on her socials, but seltzer waters. So I replaced my liquid intake of alcohol with seltzer waters. It's the repetition. It's the
Grabbing the can, the
yeah.
sound.
What is that called?
It's just like your body doing the thing.
Yeah. But I mean, there's still some days. It's obviously gone down, but there are some days now where it's like I'm having a rough day, and by golly, 17 beers sounds like a great idea.
17. That's
So,
much.
I mean, there are some days after work that I'll drink 3, 4, 5 seltzer waters after work. That's a very rare thing now, but fresh off the boat from Hawaii, that was one thing he said. I don't remember what he said, but he's like, you need to find something, water, tea, coffee. Like, you need to find something that you can replace this with, because it's the habit
Yeah.
is
It's
what
the
it
habit.
is of
You're
the
like kind of
not,
tricking, kind of.
not the habit, the ritual. That's what it was. It's the ritual of the
And it gives you a little bit of those, what is it,
yeah.
endorphins? Like the tiniest bit to like get you through.
I clung to those for a long time.
Yeah.
The problem is like, between video games, and video games are tied to a lot of different things. Like, the research has been done that video games light up your brain the same way pornography does. So I went probably a solid 2 years without playing video games. I sold my whole setup. I sold my Xbox, all my controllers, things like that, just on like Facebook Marketplace for far less than they were worth, but I just wanted to get rid of them. I held on to them for
Yeah, you did.
like a year.
I knew immediately that if he was going to give up alcohol, that he had to give up video games, because that's when he would do the bulk of his drinking. And like, how could you separate the two?
Yeah.
Part of me felt bad because I was like, well, that's his friend time. Like, I get to talk to my friends all day long, like on Marco Polo or texting, voice messages. Like, I'm always in contact with my friends. And like, that was his time to get to connect with his friends. Even though I didn't like it, what woman likes their man gaming? Come on. Like, it's so
Unattractive.
gross. Yes, but also I understood like the friend component. Like, you do make friends online, and he has real friends that he would play with as well. So
I mean, I have friends that I've never met that I have their phone numbers, and we text and everything still,
Yeah.
from playing video games online.
So I could understand that, but you asked me 3 times, right? And I said no every single time. He would be like, can I go game? And I'd be like, no. You asked me 3 times, and after the 3rd time, you're like, okay. And I didn't ask him to get rid of his games. I didn't tell him to throw it away or sell it. He made that choice on his own, which I think was really good.
A healing step.
Yeah, it was.
So
That was so freeing for me. Like, when he decided that he was going to give up games, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have my husband. But he didn't game at all. You never gamed after we came back from Maui. You
no, I
never
didn't.
gamed.
But back to it, therapy. I would like to say, or I'd like to address the men in the audience or the men in the room. Don't be, is arrogant the right word?
Yes. Prideful, arrogant.
Don't be so arrogant to think that you don't need therapy. Like, humble yourself for it is for you, but it's for your wife, it's for your kids, it's for your grandkids. Find someone to talk to that is outside of your world, that is a professional that can help you. It will change your life. It changed my life within about 6 months. Within 6 months of seeing this therapist, Corinne and I went from never talking, never communicating, to talking every night, having multiple hour conversations. And a lot of that was due to the healing process of what was going on. But I mean, it wasn't uncommon for us to have 1 or 2 3-hour long conversations a week.
I would say for the first like year, maybe more of our healing, we did like a question a night.
Yes.
Every
and
single night.
I'm gonna be rude. I'm gonna grab a phone.
So when we were in Maui, I came up with my ways that I would like to better our relationship and things that I think we should do to try and draw closer to each other. And Aiden came up with his list. So we both had a list of like, okay, I would like this, like even down to intimacy levels. I'd like to be intimate this many times a week. And I would like to have I would like to do this. And one of them was like, we need to have topic. We need to talk. We need to learn how to communicate with each other again. The days that Aiden would have therapy, we would talk about therapy
I mean, in depth.
in depth.
Like I would have a whole nother therapy session at home with Corinne going over what therapy
Debriefing.
was. Yeah, it was a crazy debrief. And then one of mine was a question a night. And we did a question a night for a long time.
It was
and
like a year plus.
it was
I feel like.
it was a long time.
And some nights it would be like a quick conversation, and then other nights it would lead to hours of conversation. And it was like we were rediscovering each other again. We were learning things about each other we never knew. We were
like
hashing out. Sometimes it would be really freaking hard conversations. Like, I don't want to talk about this. It's so hard.
So, and what I did is I went on my phone, I looked up questions to ask my wife, and there's a ton of them. And I copied and pasted hundreds of questions. We tried to make it a point that the question was never answered with one word, obviously, because it was like a conversation piece. It was a way to start a conversation and a way just to get the ball rolling between the two of us, because we didn't have that for so long that it was something that her and I needed at the time to start a conversation. Like, looking back on that, that's kind of sad, but it helped. Simple things like that, asking the questions of, if you could travel anywhere, where would it be and why? One of those was Japan for both of us, and we're actually going to Japan this year, so we're crossing that one off the list.
We also decided to start reading our Bibles together every single night and discussing what we read. And then we were doing a devotional together every night for a while. It was called the Love Dare. And in that devotional, it's for married couples, and there would be like a weekly dare. So it'd be like, oh, go out and buy your significant other a gift,
or a random gift,
things like that. What else did we do?
Beating the 50%.
Yeah, and then we started up more questions. We started doing our marriage journal again, because when me and Aiden first got married, we were doing a marriage journal, and it's 7 questions that you ask each other every single week.
We do it on Sundays.
We choose Sundays, and during our disconnect period, we stopped doing that. So we decided to pick that up again, and we still do that every single week.
Every week. I mean, sometimes those questions we can get them done in the time period of a shower and like the dry off and lotion up period of the evening. And sometimes these questions go for hours. Like we had probably 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, it was all night.
We were up here at probably 8 o'clock, and we went downstairs at 11:30 or so. We just made our tea, got some snacks, and talked through our questions. And I mean, like, to hit on just a couple of them, like, what brought you joy this week? And we list off things that brought us joy. You and the kids, our sex life, like 100 different things that it could be. Like last week was Corinne going to her doula course. Like that was one of her things that brought her joy.
It took me 5 years to finally find non-toxic makeup that's not only nourishing to my skin, but actually performs well. As a previous makeup artist myself, I absolutely refuse to spend my money on makeup products that do not work. Crunchi is the brand that finally converted me. They have personally banished over 10,000 ingredients that do not make the cut into their products that unfortunately is in most of the makeup we use day in and day out. I'm personally obsessed with their cream concealers and their cream blushes, and I finally started wearing lipstick again because I actually feel good about kissing my babies while wearing it. So their lip pencils are a must. Click the link in my show notes and add the code ADVOCATE10 for 10% off your first purchase with Crunchi. That's Crunchi with an I. And make sure to use my link or the code will not work.
And every single one of these 7 questions, there's a conversation piece to be had on both sides. So What brought me joy? There's a conversation piece to be had. What brought her joy? There's a conversation piece to be had. And I'll just give you one more is like, is there any unconfessed sin, conflict, or hurt? Which is a big one. I mean, and some weeks we look at each other, if we had like a super great week together and there was nothing going on, and we look at each other and go, I don't have anything that I need to confess to you, and there's nothing that you did to offend me or hurt me in any way, and I don't need to resolve anything with you. Or it's we resolve this on Wednesday, the night that it happened, and we don't need to go over it again.
Well, sometimes it'll just be as simple as like, I'm sorry I was in a bad mood on Wednesday when you came home from work and I was very closed off or whatever. You know, like just, it can even be small little things so that like the other person is validated if we didn't have a conversation about it then. So what else about our story? Is that it? Or do you want to go into questions?
I mean,
So I feel like we're going to get into some meat.
there's a lot of questions.
We're not going to be able to get to all of these, but
We'll do our best.
there's going to be some meat in here, I think. So I think this episode's going to be long. But yeah, what do you think?
I don't think there's anything else. I think we touched on a lot of stuff. Therapy, go to therapy. Men, do it. Please go to therapy.
That was a key. That was so key. I think getting him in therapy like ASAP, as soon as possible after the admitting of the addiction. And the thing is too, what?
I want to pause real quick because I thought about it. In my journey of being sober, I cannot tell you how, like with alcohol, it's so hard because of how socially acceptable alcoholism is in the United States. We were at some freaking stupid place.
It was not stupid. It's basically like a massive thrift convention.
That's what it was. I was saying stupid place, so I couldn't remember what it was.
Thrift convention called Farm Chicks.
Great place. We bought a bunch of stuff. But there was this super cool, like, small Airstream or like some sort of old retro mobile home, and they were selling super cool stuff. They had a bunch of bar stuff in it, like shot glasses and shaker tins and martini glasses. And I don't remember what the lady said, but she
said something like everyone needs a shot after work or something like that.
Yeah. And I looked at her and I was like,
you were like only a month sober at that point or something.
It wasn't long. I was like, I've been sober for like 30 days. And she looked like Casper the Ghost.
Yeah. People literally don't know what to say.
Bed sheet, white.
Yeah. When someone is like, I'm sober, actually. Like, it is like almost offensive to them.
Yeah.
Like they take offense.
To cap that off real quick, give grace. If you drink, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. It's not going to affect my journey. Have some compassion and think about where other people could be in their lives when you're out in public, because like that whole awkward conversation
That was so cringy.
could have been avoided by her not saying.
She could have been like, oh my gosh, congratulations, that's amazing. But instead she's like,
She literally froze up, and Casper the Ghost had like just white as a bedsheet. She was like mortified by the fact that I said this to her. Like she had no idea what to say. She was like,
you could just be like, oh, good for you. Like,
yeah, I got stonewalled. That was a great feeling.
We've had situations like that.
Oh yeah, multiple.
People get really, really weird when you say that you're not drinking anymore. Like they get weird.
Yeah.
It's
and
like,
even people you know.
It's like you have
leprosy.
Betrayed them. You have like people treat you weird. They act weird. They like act like they have to tiptoe around you. It's very odd. And like you don't have to act odd. You don't have to act weird. You can also ask them how they're doing. You can be like, hey, how is your journey? Like, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I think that's another question you ask me every single night
That is, I asked Aiden every single day,
for like a year.
how are you doing? And not just like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good.
That's another one of those ones we decided not to be a closed end question.
Yeah, it
It
has to
could
be
not
deep.
be a one answer, a one
You
word
need to
answer.
be deep about it. It
Yeah.
needs to be, how are you? How are you really? And so, yeah, every single day I would ask Aiden,
Some
how
days
are you
was like
feeling? How are you doing? How are you feeling with your alcoholism? Yeah.
some days
And
were
he was honest every time. He would say, horrible. I'm horrible. I feel so depressed today. I hate myself. I really, really, really want to drink. And I think it's important to be able to say that and like even just get it out. So,
wild times.
yeah. Okay.
Questionnaire, ask me.
Are we ready for the Q&A? Some of these are going to be for me and some of them are going to be for you. Okay, so let's start with this one. Best ways to recognize and support someone going through addiction. I wish I had known earlier. Best ways to recognize. I would start off with saying disconnection. Like there's disconnection. Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest way to like recognize and notice is like they're withdrawn, they're not able to like really hold a relationship with people at all. That's more than surface level. And you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say to trust your intuition, because if you would have,
Yeah.
if you would have trusted your intuition,
I know.
you would have figured it out way before you did.
But I didn't want to know. That's the thing is like I literally did not want to know. I didn't want to know. So I knew, but I didn't want to. And support, best ways to support someone going through addiction is, oh gosh,
That's a rough one.
I know.
That question, like, it depends on your proximity. Like, is it your husband? Is it your wife? Like,
I would say checking in on them would be one of the best. Like if they're on their healing journey, regularly checking in on them, being like, how are you really? How are, like what I was doing with Aiden. So I could just even gauge like how he was doing that day or in that moment. Because when, and I'm speaking for the addicted person when I say this, but like when you're internalizing things always and it's always in your brain, it's always in your head and no one's pulling it out, I feel like that leads to more struggle. Like even just being able to verbalize, like I had a really bad day today and I really want to drink. That is a release in some sort. So, giving them resources like I did with Aiden when we weren't sure about him taking antidepressants. I was like, you know what? I will do research. I'm going to read books. I'm going to look at studies. I'm going to look into this and I'm going to present you with the information that I found that I feel like is necessary for you to know. So I'm going to take that off of your plate and then you can decide what you want. And if you want to read these books, go ahead, you know? And then advocating for therapy is the biggest one, I think.
I was going to say therapy.
Advocating for therapy, specifically substance abuse, is huge. Huge. Again, I really think it was key to Aiden's healing.
Definitely one of the top things. Absolutely.
I think compassion is really big as well because there's always a root, and the root is always brokenness. It's always brokenness from one or more situations in their life, and whether or not, you know, it's destroying you, like there's still a person that deserves compassion, and it is from brokenness. So, anything else you want to add to that?
You got that one pretty well.
Okay. What was the healing process like for you as the betrayed spouse? I need therapy. Yeah, I need therapy.
Currently working on that.
It's really, 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 really hard. When I was going through it, I was obsessed with listening to podcasts about betrayal, like betrayal, success stories, like women being blindsided by their husband betraying them in one way or another, and then their success story of how they worked through it. Like I literally was listening to betrayal podcasts constantly because I'm like, I need someone to tell me that it's going to be okay and that we're going to get through this. I need to hear other people's success stories. So I was constantly listening to those types of podcasts of women sharing, because I needed validation, because there was nobody in my life that I could turn to that had gone through something like this that could give me sound advice. And we did not tell many people at all. Like we did not. We kept it very close and I think that's smart to do in the very, very early healing stages, because people have their thoughts and opinions, and I wanted to protect Aiden. Even though I was the betrayed person, I still wanted to protect him in this because I knew he was just broken and needed help.
Which is great. I wouldn't. That one's like a double-edged sword. So if you were to tell more people than I was comfortable with, it'd be a betrayal to me. Mm-hmm. Like if you would have gone out and told,
and I feel like there was
50 other people.
I think there was certain levels of betrayal because I went to your parents, and that was a huge betrayal to you. But I had no other choice. If we didn't go to them, we would not be here together today. We wouldn't.
Not a chance.
So I
might not be here.
I did betray Aiden in many ways, but it was for his own good. I had to. But I would say that I still struggle every single day. I struggle with trust. Like once you have trust broken in such a way, you don't just get it back, you know? So I will get triggered. I get triggered quite often still, just by little things. Like if he even does a certain like body language that he did back then, I'll instantly be like, oh, there's something I don't know. And one of my friends who's going through betrayal actually said something that I resonated with recently. She said to her husband, "You stole my ability to trust myself. You stole my intuition. Like I no longer can trust my own intuition. I don't believe myself. I don't know how to recognize if something is a trigger and is not reality, or if it's my intuition and something is wrong. But like, I'm afraid to like face it." And I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel that all the time. So there's a lot of healing that's been done, but it's like a race. And it's still like a continuous healing process. Like once you've gone through a really, really big betrayal and some really hard stuff, it was a really bad run for like a year and a half, I would say, of our relationship, really just going to the pits of it. And I remember praying, actually, before we found out the depression stuff, I remember praying like, God, please reveal any and all truths about me and Aiden's relationship. Like get us to the bottom, like break us apart so that we can rebuild. And I think that was like the best and worst prayer that I could have ever prayed. And I kept imagining like a really, really dirty sponge, and how many times you have to like wring it and rinse it underwater for all of the crud to come out. So at first you're making a lot of really big strides of getting all of the dirt out. And then after a while, it's harder to clean and less is coming out, but there's still more stuff in it. That's the longest process. And that's like where we're at now. It's like we got a lot of the big stuff out of the way, but like there's still healing, obviously, that has to be done. And trust that has to grow again. It's not just overnight. It's not even 2.5 years. So I really did a lot of healing just with Aiden, but I've never really received healing on my own yet, which I need. Okay. Let's see. What are your thoughts on drinking from a biblical standpoint? Well, the Bible is very clear to not be a drunk. Point blank period. Do not be a drunk.
And that's not to say like you can't have a glass of wine with dinner. Like you can. I can't.
Yeah.
Like I know where I'm at in life, and like I'm not going to jeopardize my sobriety to have a freaking glass of wine. It's like you can have a glass of wine, but again, I can't, and I know that. And biblically, that's okay because it says not to be drunk. And if I have one glass of wine, it's going to lead to 7. So I'll just abstain.
Okay, so these two questions are similar. What is the make or break moment that leads to sobriety sticking? And did you have to give an ultimatum? When did he accept it was an issue? So Aiden literally accepted it was an issue immediately, like upon delivery. He was like, I have an issue.
Problem.
Like we never had an issue with him admitting that it was a problem. And I think that is huge because I have had so many women in my DMs saying my husband has an issue, but he literally won't admit it. And it's the stupidest thing ever saying like, oh, admitting you have a problem is the first step or whatever, but it is.
It's one of the biggest too.
And we didn't have to go through that, thankfully, because my husband was okay with admitting that he had an issue. And the make or break moment was the ultimatum. I think I think so. A lot of why I stuck around for a long time was for my kids. Straight up. I remember Aiden's mom asking me all the time, like, okay, checking in, like, are you staying for the kids or are you staying for yourself now? And it took me a long time to finally tell her, no, I'm staying for my marriage now. Because I needed something else to stick on to that was bigger than me. I needed something else to stick on to that was bigger than me to keep me there. Because I was just like so emotional and like you're so broken, and it is sometimes the easier thing to leave. Boundaries as a wife, how do you stick to them? My husband suffers with a marijuana addiction. My boundary was set immediately. The boundary was no alcohol.
It was black and white.
There was no like, oh, you can do it every once in a while, or oh, if you slip up, it was fine. It was like, you will never see me again. I will be gone. I will leave with the kids if you cannot get this under control. That was my boundary. Everyone's asking support, not boundaries. Okay, so where are your boundaries now with alcohol?
Where are my boundaries now? I mean, I'm obviously in a much different and better place than I was 2 years ago, right? Being freshly 6 months sober and being 2.5+ years now. Like I've gone to the casino with friends and they've drank and I haven't. Like it's a non-issue for me now. Corinne isn't a drinker at all.
I've never cared for alcohol ever. Like it's just not my thing. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It's expensive. It's literally poison to your body. Like I see no good in it, literally at all. So I don't drink. I never have been into it. So
like
we kind of have decided that we don't drink. Like obviously Aiden doesn't drink. I don't care for it. I have no reason to or need to. So we don't consume alcohol. In your mind, did you have a limit as to when you might have left and not tolerated it?
I feel like it was pretty cut and dry. If I started drinking again, she was going to be gone. So I don't really know if there's a timeline on that one, personally. What do you think?
Yeah, I just remember telling Aiden he had to choose us or alcohol, and that was it. So he sobered up. He sobered up, and then he didn't touch it again. So even through that healing process, though, there was times where I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know. Because healing and betrayal is so hard. So I always had like a backup plan in my mind of like, okay, well, we'll sell the house. I'll get this amount of money. Like literally down to the logistics, and be like, okay, I'll probably just move back home and live with Aiden's parents. I had worked through exactly what I would do. So I knew my plan if things were to go awry. I didn't have like a specific, like, oh, if our relationship isn't better in 6 months, then I'm going to leave. I didn't have a date. It was very cut and dry with the alcohol. Like, I was not going to tolerate the alcohol, but like our relationship was also very broken at the time. And I didn't have like a timeline on that because you can't really put a timeline on healing. So, how do you trust your husband is being honest with you?
I feel like that one's pretty simple.
There's just behaviors. There's just behaviors that you notice. I had mentioned before, like the whole weird betrayal intuition thing of like feeling like you can't trust yourself as the betrayed spouse, but it's quite like Aiden could not hide it from me now that I know, obviously, because when I think about it now, like, yeah, he was constantly going out to the garage, like literally always going to the garage for something, constantly opening the garage, going to the garage. And then the video gaming thing, like him being out there for hours and hours. Like, there's no way that he could hide it from me now that I know. So I know that he's being honest because he's not acting weird. Like, whenever there's weird behavioral changes, something is going on. And I think like that's the dead giveaway. After quitting, how do you both make sure he doesn't replace one addiction with another? I feel like Aiden became extremely addicted to his phone afterwards. Very like always needing to be busy with his hands and drinking the seltzer water, which I wouldn't really call that addiction, more of a coping mechanism. And I also would say that your phone was a coping mechanism as well. So I don't think those were like really addictions, but more so like trying to keep your mind
Out of it.
busy.
Yeah.
And not trying to constantly think about alcohol. Do you ever worry about slip-ups or him getting addicted to something else? My hubby is sober 4 years. I don't really think about this, to be honest, because I feel like we're so far into the healing journey that I just believe in Aiden. Like, I watched him go through his healing. I know how hard it was, and his drive, even when he was so cripplingly depressed, to choose our family and cut alcohol cold turkey, for him to like slip up and go back into it doesn't seem like it would happen. Especially after all of the healing that we've gone through in our relationship, because like there was just so much compounded on top of it. Like a lot of childhood trauma and issues from his past and brokenness, depression, alcoholism, our relationship being bad. Like, we have worked through a lot of that together, and he's worked through it in therapy. So I don't know. I don't worry that he's going to go back to it. I have thought about like, what would it look like if he wanted to reintroduce alcohol into his life on occasion. And yeah, that's what I think. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea ever.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, I've thought about like,
You've thought about that?
no, I've thought about like one day in the future, if you're like, oh, I would like to have a beer with dinner again.
You must be looking.
No, I'm not thinking that I want you to do that. I'm thinking about what if, would that be a good idea? No.
That ain't even a what if in my mind right now. Oof.
So, I don't know. I believe in him. I believe in him that it's not going to happen. I just don't really think about it. It's not something that I worry about. I just think like, is tenacity the right word? Like the strength, the strive, the determination, he showed me how much more important our family was to him than alcohol, because he straight up gave it up. He was able to admit it immediately. He went to therapy immediately, and he walked himself through all of the withdrawals, which were awful. And he had withdrawals for months, actually, like weird withdrawals. Like he was having open sores pop up on his head for months, like a detox period. What else physically was happening? You had a couple of weird physical.
I had like spells where I felt like I was going to pass out.
Oh yeah.
For a while
Weird
too.
stuff.
And then like the only thing I could think of that is just blood sugar. My blood sugar my body was so used to my blood sugar being so high because of how much alcohol I was consuming, that a normal level of blood sugar in my system was causing my body to freak out by not having enough to what it used to be, which actually led to me eating a ton of candy at the time. Like,
Oh yeah, I do remember you eating a lot of candy too.
I ate a ton of candy to compensate for the sugar that I wasn't intaking in alcohol.
I wanted to touch on anniversaries. So Aiden is 2.5 years sober. He'll be 3 years sober in July. And the very first while, every single day, Aiden would come home and he didn't drink. I would have him draw a star on my calendar and we would celebrate that day. Like every single day. Yay! Babe, do you want to write your star? And I would try and make like a cute little deal of it. Like, do you want to come write your star on the calendar that you didn't drink today? And so we did that for a while, a couple of months. And then it was like month-versaries or whatever that we would just be like, okay, one month or whatever. And then now we're at the point where we just celebrate 1 year, 2 years. Sober.
Yeah, we go out to dinner or lunch.
Yeah, so the first year we went out to dinner and I made him a card, bought him a really bad cheesecake that was not good. I bought it from Trader Joe's, so you didn't like it.
Oh, that's right.
And then year 2, did I make you a cheesecake this year? Or was that for your birthday?
You made it for my birthday.
Okay. Year 2, I got him a cute candle that says,
It smells like you're another year sober.
smells like Aiden is another year sober. So we are going to light that every single year. And then I got him like a little keychain thing that it was like a penny that has his sober date on it, like July 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little like note. I forgot what it said. Something
On my
like,
keys.
it says something about sobriety. I forget what I put on there. So I try and make a big deal of it in the ways that I can and celebrate it because it's important. It's a very important day. Aiden's opinion on how a wife can best support a husband with alcoholism.
I think that is a very personal question. Obviously, you're going to know your partner better than anyone, or you should know your partner better than anyone. I think that your partner has to, or your husband has to know that he has a problem. Because, I mean, if he's just drinking and drinking and drinking and you want him to stop, but he hasn't recognized the fact that it's a problem at this point, your support, what's it going to look like? If the tough conversation needs to be had, you should have it because it's going to better your life and better your family. Yeah, have the tough conversation and then, like, get him to understand that it's an issue or you're uncomfortable with it. And then from there, like we've gone over a couple of things, are like as simple as like writing the star on her calendar every single day. Like, as stupid as that sounds, like it was something that her and I were able to bond over. Like that little 30 seconds of me and filling it in.
Yeah, because I was trying to make him realize how big every day was. And even if it was just literally doing a tiny star on the calendar to say, okay, I made it through the day. And let's both recognize that you made it through the day by putting a little star on the calendar. Like that was like, okay, you did it, and we're going to write it down that you did it. And I think there's nothing wrong too with, like, if you are the wife or the spouse of the person who is addicted, to just ask, how do you feel the most supported? How would you like me to support you? In what ways can I help you feel the most supported? I think is really helpful. Because like Aiden said, not everyone is going to be the same. Did your church family support in any way? Did you feel judgment? Basically, what was your church experience like during at the time? We were not actively in church at the time. It was actually one of our commitments was to get back into church. And I think that was another really good thing that we did, is we immediately dove back into church and dove back into small groups at church. So we were getting like one-on-one counsel and relationship with our pastors and with other people our age. I don't really think we even talked about your alcoholism though, did we? We just kind of talked about how you had said that you kind of walked away. I think you might have mentioned it to our pastor.
I think I did. I
saying
remember
that
our
you
former pastor
walked away from church, and we were back, and they were like, great, and welcomed us. And yeah, so I don't think we felt any judgment. I felt that they were just excited to have us back in church and kind of put us right back in where we had left off. Okay. A lot of people have been asking about pornography. A lot. Was any porn addiction a part of this? Has pornography ever been a struggle for you guys? Pornography, tons of pornography. And I'm very thankful that has not ever been a part of our story. I have a lot of close friends that deal with this with their husbands. And I wish that we had counsel to give. Not that I wish we did, because that would mean that we would have an issue with pornography, but more so like I wish there was counsel that we could give that would be of value, because this addiction is so vastly different. But I would love to have somebody come on and chat about it who has gone through porn addiction and is on the other side of it. We do have family members that have gone through this and are now like actively in ministry helping other men with their porn addictions, which is great. So maybe that could be something that we could work on, is having somebody come on, because there are a lot of people that are asking about pornography. So I know it's a really big issue for people. So
it just goes hand in hand with an addiction. I think they put out some statistic like even if you watch once a month, it's considered an addiction nowadays for where porn's concerned, which is crazy to think about. Like you look at one time a month, but it's 12 times a year. If you used heroin 12 times a year,
one time a month, or is it one time a week?
it's one time a month. It's 12 times a year.
Is
what
it?
Yeah.
I don't know about that statistic.
I don't remember where I heard it somewhere, but like 12 times a year. And if you think about it, if you used heroin 12 times a year, there's some form of addiction there, right?
I will say that there is a guy on TikTok. His name is the Porn Coach, and instead of an O in porn, it's an X. And he goes live like almost every night of the week, and I love listening to what he has to say. He was severely addicted to porn, and it actually went so far as to physically cheat on his wife, and they were able to reconnect and heal their marriage. So they have a really amazing testimony, and now his entire like work field is helping others recover from pornography. So he does a lot of lives, and then he has workshops, and he does one-on-ones with people. So that could be a good resource to go to, is the Porn Coach, PXRN Coach. I think he has an Instagram as well. I like listening to his stuff. So maybe that's something that all of you guys asking about porn can look into. And then I would love to have someone come on and chat about that who has gone through it. Somebody had asked how we're going to handle talking to our children about drugs and alcohol in the future. And honestly, we haven't really talked about that because our kids are so young. Our oldest is 5, but that definitely will be something where I feel we're going to have open conversations about, because Aiden has, I don't know if you consider has a problem or had a problem. What's the etiquette for that?
I have a problem.
Have. Okay. Yeah. Has a problem. And then I have people in my family as well. I have lost somebody from addiction myself. So I think it's going to be a very not open-ended. It's going to be a very open conversation where we talk about like, hey, yep, your dad in the early years of our marriage really struggled with this and it could have ended our marriage, and we lost so-and-so from their addiction as well. Like, I think being open about it is very key. I honestly think that my mom did a really, really good job with this, because she would always talk to me about alcohol, and she let me try it earlier than I was supposed to. Like, she would let me try wine. She would let me taste, like, what are those lemonades called?
Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Mike's Hard Lemonades and stuff like that, so that I wasn't curious, and I wasn't like curious around my friends and like doing things with my friends, but instead like I'd already tried alcohol at home and I didn't care for it and it wasn't that cool. So I'm not sure. We haven't really talked about it yet. All I know is that we're going to be open and honest. I think our own familial stories are going to resonate with our kids because it does hit so close to home for them. So that's what I think. So there were a lot more questions that we could have gone into. I honestly feel like we could do a part 2 on this, but we are going to go ahead and end this because it's already 2 hours long. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope that this was helpful in some way, inspirational, or maybe you just resonated with it. And if you are going through this with your spouse, just know that there can be light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. There can be hope, but also they have to be willing. They have to be willing to put 100% into their healing journey. They have to be willing to admit. They have to be willing to seek help. They have to be willing to put in the hard work. And really, really, really hardcore boundaries must be set. I think between Aiden admitting that he had an issue, being open to seeking help, and me putting up immediate boundaries all really played a key role. And then I just think if you are a believer and you are a prayerful wife, I think prayer is a really big part of healing. Praying for yourself, strength for your husband. There were so many days that just to get through the day, all like what I needed to do was just listen to worship music to get me through the day. Like I would just put on my headphones and just listen to worship music. And there were some times where I would sit there and try and pray and be like, God, I literally cannot pray. I just cannot pray. And there was something that I had either read or heard that said, your tears are prayers too. And God knows. And that was like so comforting to me at the time, when like there were times where I just like could not get a prayer out. Like I knew I needed to pray, but just couldn't. And all I could do was cry instead. And knowing that your tears are prayers too was like, oh, that was just, it felt like such a relief for me to know like, okay, God does know. God does know. And he's with us and he's working in us. And I know that we are extremely blessed for choosing to stay married. I know that I would have been blessed either way, that God would have taken me in a different direction. I know that God would have been with me if I chose to leave Aiden, if his addiction was out of control and he couldn't handle himself. I know that I would have been blessed for leaving, or blessed in the leaving, but I truly do believe that we are even more blessed for choosing to stay in our marriage and work in it. And now, 2.5 years later, we're able to share this testimony of working through it together. I just know that we are like extra blessed, and like God will continue to use our story and will continue to bless us in so many ways for choosing to stay. I think that staying in a lot of ways is harder, but staying in a lot of ways is more rewarding. And I think if it is a situation where you can stay, you're not in danger. Because if Aiden was abusive, if he was a scary mad drunk, like throwing things, like all of that is like, you need to remove yourself from the situation. But if it's an addiction where it is still safe to stay, I think giving your best shot at trying to heal your marriage is going to go much farther than bowing out, because it is easier to do so. Like, it would have been just so much easier for me to be like, I'm done with you, cut you off, get child support from you, and leave. And it's harder to stay, but it's more rewarding. So I think that's pretty much what I have to say to wrap this up. And again, I hope that it was helpful. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
And that concludes today's episode. If you found value in this conversation or resonate with it in any way, I'd love for you to leave me a review on whatever platform you're listening in on and share about it on social media. Your support means the world. For more content like this, you can follow me at Corinne Adele on all platforms. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.